Hi, my name is Well. I hope this story gives you goosebumps. If you like the story, subscribe. Let's start. The first time I ate someone's grief, it was an accident. My aunt had just died, and my cousin couldn't stop crying at the funeral. She clutched her mother's wedding ring so tight, her knuckles grew white, and then she did something that made all of us, including myself, stop crying for a moment. She looked at the casket, at my aunt's still face, and she said, "I hate her." I don't think she meant it the way it came off because she didn't hate her mother. She loved her. She just hated that her mom had to die. She hated the unfairness of it all. It wasn't supposed to be this way. Her mom was supposed to get old and frail and pass away in her sleep, not from cancer that spread through her body like wildfire. Afterward, when everyone had gone home, her dad stayed behind to talk to the mortician, so she and I were left in the car together in uncomfortable silence. I wanted to comfort her, but I didn't know what to say. I was only 12 years old. All I knew was that my cousin didn't hate her mom. She was just in pain. And if there was anything I was good at back then, it was dealing with pain. It started when I was 9. That's when my parents got divorced. The two things I remember most were the taste of my mom's tears and the feeling of my dad's shame. Every other Saturday, without fail, my mom would cry as she dropped me off at my dad's place. He always acted like he didn't want me to go, but I could tell by the way he held his head up high and sucked in his stomach that he was actually quite pleased that I would be out of his hair for the weekend. In the beginning, he tried to make it work. He tried to be a good father, but the longer it went on, the more distant and cold he became. There were times when I would be eating dinner, which he made me cook for myself, and I would catch him staring at the wall or the television while I talked about my day. Sometimes when he went out with his friends, he would bring me along. I would sit quietly in the corner of the room, drinking soda and listening to them joke around until I fell asleep. The worst part of it all was knowing that I had been abandoned. At least, that's how I saw it. My mom had moved on. She found a new boyfriend soon after the divorce. He was a lot like my dad, never really present, never really there. But still, he was there more than my dad had been. With him, I learned how to accept the fact that people would leave. I learned how to cope with their absence. I learned that they would never come back. That's why when my cousin started crying in the car, I understood exactly how she felt. As I reached out and touched her shoulder, I didn't mean to eat her pain. I had no idea that I could even do such a thing. But as our skin touched, as her tears hit my fingertips, I felt her pain become my own. It was like my body absorbed all of her sadness, like it flowed into me and made me feel empty inside. She cried and cried and cried, and the more she did, the more I hurt. It was awful. I had never experienced anything like it before. I got out of the car and ran. I didn't know where I was going. I just kept running until I came across an abandoned house. I walked in and sat down on the floor. Then I cried too, crying for her mother, crying for myself. When my cousin found me, I looked up at her with tears streaming down my face, and I asked, "Why did you tell me to stop crying? You should let it out. Let it all out," I said. "You don't understand," she replied, wiping her eyes. "I just wish she would come back. I miss her so much. I need her to be here." "Me too," I said, hugging her close. And for the first time, we weren't alone in our grief. We were connected by it. When you lose someone, especially the way we lost our moms, there is nothing worse than the feeling of being alone with your pain. But when you find someone who understands, when you find someone who has felt the same pain you have, It makes it a little easier to carry on. At first, it was an accident. I didn't realize I had eaten her grief. But after that day, we started to feed each other's pain. She and I both had a lot of it, so it seemed like the right thing to do. When she told me about the dreams she had, dreams where her mom came back to life and hugged her so tight, I believed her. I believed that if I had enough of her grief, I could make those dreams come true. As weeks turned into months, I would often wake up next to her, my arm wrapped around her as she cried out in her sleep. Sometimes I would hear her say, "No, please don't leave me," and I would hold her tighter until she stopped moving. I thought that if I fed on her grief, if I made it mine, it would keep her mom's memory alive. I thought it would keep her mom from forgetting about her. But the thing is, you can't keep someone's grief forever. It will eventually run out. And when it does, you're left with all of theirs, but none of yours. I never told her this, though. I never told her that she was slowly losing herself to her pain. I was too afraid she'd stop sharing it with me, and I needed her pain to survive. This continued until one day when I woke up and realized that I didn't recognize the girl sleeping next to me anymore. She had lost so much weight that her cheekbones were sticking out. Her fingers were long and bony, and her hair hung in greasy strands around her face. I wanted to tell her to get up and go wash her face, but I didn't have the strength. I couldn't even get out of bed myself. I looked over and saw a half-empty bottle of pills on the nightstand next to her. I felt sick to my stomach. I wanted to throw up, but I couldn't. I was already full of her pain, full of her grief. And that's when I realized that I had taken too much. I had eaten all of her grief, but none of my own. When she woke up, I told her, "You need to take care of yourself. You can't live like this anymore," I said, gesturing toward the pill bottle. She looked at me with vacant eyes and a confused expression on her face. "What are you talking about?" she asked. "You haven't been here for me," she said. "I haven't felt you in so long. Why are you just waking up now?" "Because I took too much of your grief, not enough of my own," I whispered, but she didn't believe me. She thought I was trying to drive a wedge between her and her mom, that I was trying to convince her that her mom wasn't really gone. And in a way, she was right. I was trying to convince her of that because I didn't want her to move on. I didn't want her to forget her mom. I wanted to keep her close. I wanted to keep her pain close. Today, we don't speak anymore. I haven't seen her since that day. I heard that she eventually moved on. She got better grades, started seeing a therapist, and began to spend more time with her friends. I'm happy for her, truly. I really am. But a part of me wishes that she hadn't moved on. A part of me wishes that she would come back to me and share her grief, so that I would not be alone in mine.